seen Shane? I mean,
Yeah, I saw him, that son of a gun. No. Yeah, we had a little staff get-together yesterday here just to kind of go over practice and everything like that. So it was good to see him and the guys on the staff that I was with as well. So.
During your time with him, what's one thing that you learned or took away from the way he does things?
Who's that? Oh, Shane. I've been obviously was with Shane a long time. All the way back to the Chargers. So, he was just very meticulous in everything that he did. Good friend and meticulous in everything they did. Always looking for every answer he could possibly get, and that's what I remember about him.
Hey, what factored into going down to 100?
Obviously there were some things. Sometimes it's roster spots that you need roster spots here and there, and so that went into the play. At that point in time, we thought that Aaron had done enough to that we have seen, and then it comes into a numbers game with some guys that got dinged and need numbers somewhere else.
With Zach McPherson, kind of a jack of all trades, what does that injury mean to the team? And did it impact it maybe more than the average fan?
Yeah, obviously anytime somebody goes down with an injury that's going to keep them out a year, your heart feels for them. Having gone through injuries, I think that as some of us coaches have, that prepares you for those conversations, because I know my own self, how hard it is to be out for an entire season. So first and foremost, it's just that you feel for the kid, because you know what he's about to have to go through, and so. But as far as he's been a key contributor to this team for the past 2 years, and so obviously missed those contributions that that he gave to us. Not only as a depth at corner, but also on special teams.
Miles Jack seemed really excited when he got here a couple of weeks ago. What was his message to you about why he wanted him?
Sometimes it's just time. I obviously won't get into any private conversations that we have together, but felt like it was his time to not play anymore, and so you always have to respect that decision, as disappointed as we may be, because to not. To do that now, is when it should happen, right? Because you don't want it to happen later in the year. So, for him, it was just time, and I respect that decision.
Nick, with Sean and Zach out, what's the plan kind of towards the special teams? What's the two things that matters?
Sure. Yeah. With the next man up, right? Next man up there. So, got some guys that we feel really good about. With some different guys that have been in the mix here at both corner and at linebacker, and looking forward. We're really happy with the guys that we have, and that's why credit to Howie and his staff, that the amount of depth that we have here. And so, when the sad part is when a guy gets hurt, right, and then the exciting part is somebody else has an opportunity. No. Cam's our right guard. Oh, what do you want me? I mean, geez, he's our right. He's been in there every snap.
I know.
All right. Well, all right. So now I'm gonna start yelling at you guys.
Well, what are you waiting for?
I don't need to make a decision. I don't have to say anything.
Speaking of making a decision, safety, it's late August, opposite Reed. You're still rotating. Sean said that was the plan. Shouldn't you be whittling things down by this point?
Shouldn't we be?
Yeah.
How much time do we have till that first game?
For the first game?
Yeah.
It's 22 days?
Yeah.
What's the time limit on your disillusionment with the Colts organization, or how they treat Frank, right?
No hard feelings anywhere. I got a lot of good people on in this organization that I'm looking forward to saying hello to after we practice against them, and even guys that I coached with in the past that are on the staff. So sometimes I get emotional after games.
When you practice today, you're not going to run the stand. This is the guys, a lot of the players who talk about how excited they are for Jalen Carter, seeing him play. I guess how you see him handling that behind the scenes, and also how's it going with the team?
Yeah, I think he's fitting in really, really well with the team. He obviously helps that he's got guys that he came here with that he knows well, and so he's done a good job so far. Haven't played any games yet, but we're looking forward to the contributions that he's going to make, and because I think that he's shown that he's gonna be able to help us. So, but he's just got to put his head down, keep getting better every day, and which I know he will because he's done it the last 2 months here.
I know it's not like how it used to be great camp, but the schedule does change after today. What's your biggest takeaway? I guess what you learned about the team?
I think again you just learn a little bit more what you do well, what you might not do well, what you want to focus on, and so that's the constant thing you're doing during this time period, right? Is focusing on, hey, what are we doing well? What do we need to get better at? What do we need to scrap? So that it's the constant evaluation of the players on your team and the schemes of your team and what fits your players. Besides that, you got to be really intentional about relationships and connecting. And so, that I've noticed our guys have done that. Of really knowing one thing that we were really good at last year was being a team, and you feel the same things here, and I feel like they're just working hard to not only in the process of football but also hard off the field, creating those relationships.
Nick, the way Shane kind of has helped Jalen develop over the last 2 years, what do you think, with Anthony Richardson, kind of like how he'll do with him?
Obviously I've never even seen Anthony practice or anything like that, but I know he's in really good hands with Shane, and Shane's resume and what he's done, it speaks for itself. And so, obviously we don't play the Colts this year, so I'll always be rooting for Shane and his success. So I look forward to watching how he grows as far as a player, because I know he's in really good hands.
Nick, when Bill Parcells, when one of his guys used to get a head coaching job, he had a little list he gave them of things to get ready for. Did you have one or two things for Shane and Jonathan that said, maybe this is not what I expected, be ready for this?
I try, Frank was really good at that with me, that he would just give me a lot of pointers, information, and he was very intentional about doing that. Hey, this happened today. You got to be ready for this. And so I've tried to pay that forward. And it's funny, I have a list for everything. So I have a list for that, that it constantly gets added to it. And I'm doing it with the guys too this year. And so hopefully I did a good job of paying that forward to Shane and to Jonathan. And I'll continue to try to do that. Because, my job is to coach the players. My job is to coach the coaches. And I feel like it's my responsibility to get the coaches that are going to be head coaches on our staff ready for their opportunity.
Nick, this time last year, Ray Blankenship was the kind of guy going into his third preseason game, trying to make a name for himself, establish himself. A lot's changed in a year. In your mind, what has changed? How has he grown?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at my talk to the team for tomorrow night, and there's some similarities of tomorrow night's talk and last year on the third preseason games talk, and I'm looking at Reed's. Because we kind of said, hey, Reed's going to play in the third preseason game. What are you going to do tomorrow to take advantage of your opportunity and make this team? And, looking at his college highlights, we showed some of his college highlights, and we showed his stats. He had like 419 tackles in 5 years at Middle Tennessee State. And so, so obviously where I say all that is it was exciting to look back at that and see, us highlighting, Covey and Reed, and then them going out and taking advantage of their opportunities and making the team. But Reed's always had this playmaking ability, right? Going back to the 419 tackles at Middle Tennessee State, and so he just keeps developing. He's just I think one compliment you can give a guy that in our locker room is like, man, he's just a good football player, and he's just a good football player, and that's how I feel about Reed. And he's continuing to get better. He's continuing to see everything as a safety and make strides there in his football IQ. So obviously pleased with where he is right now and the growth that he's had in the past year.
It's a good family to have with
One of the defenses that you struggled against last year, maybe the only one. What kind of value is
Yeah. No, we know how talented they are. We know they're really well coached. Coach Bradley is not only a good friend of mine, but I know how good of a football coach he is. And so we know they're well coached. We know we're going to get great work. We know they have good personnel. And so looking forward to getting that work against them, knowing that they did a great job against us last year. And so it'll be a good work today.
What's a good fact that you found for tomorrow night's speech, like the 419 tackles?
Well, sometimes I got some guys working for me to say, hey, here's the list there, and sometimes I have a little stat of my own. I don't have any stats on my own, so I'm going to wait until I see Tyler Yelk, what he pulled together. But I'm sure he's been working hard at my assistant Tyler Yelk, been working hard to get me some fun facts for tomorrow. There's going to be some things you're like, whoa, this guy did all that, and that's the reason why they're here, right? Yeah. All right.
The final roster cuts coming next week. How do you kind of balance these next few days of giving those final evaluations to guys who may be on the bubble while also making sure your team is where they need to be?
Yeah. Again, that's where the opportunity periods come from, right? And obviously today it'll be some ones versus ones, twos versus twos, but they're going to get some opportunities in the game as well. So just those final evaluations to be able to see where they are, and because it'd be hard to make that. There's a lot of good players out there, and it'd be hard to make the final decisions today. So that's why we have some good opportunities here today, and then also within the game to get those final evaluations.